live from 304 Studios in Jonesboro, Arkansas. This is an stspod.club production. This is our 7th annual Top 10 News Stories of 2023 now. This is our 7th annual, crazy, episode 790. I'm BT, the guy with the fancy shirt on.
Freddy Krueger shirt.
It's the wrong color and even the wrong size of stripes, bitch. This guy, he's just jealous, guys. He's jealous.
Yeah, I love that shirt.
This guy has never dropped it when it was hot. He never has. He never has. He's from Chicago, the home of the best pizza in the world, and the home of WNBA's Chicago Sky. I just want everyone to know the new season starts in May. I just want everybody to get ready in May for the new season. He's a snark of excellence, my partner in crime, your friend and mine. Well, most of the time. Lance Levine, and Lance, we got to tell him, we're the two smoothest cats in podcasting business.
I thought it was the tastiest snack. Tastiest snacks.
Smoothest cats.
Maybe for 2024.
All right. What the hell? How's it going?
I am right here. I'm in the Coffee Mate Eggos Waffles with Maple Syrup Creamer Studios today.
Hold on. Before we go any further, I want to ask you something about that, okay? Yep. You do know you're supposed to put that in coffee, right? Because all I could think about was you just walking around the house.
Out of that bottle, that's right. I did have it in the coffee this morning. I had it in my exclusive Mick Fleetwood coffee this morning, which is from Hawaii. So I pay, Rich, you can pay for that stuff. Thank you to the podcast listeners for supporting us so I can afford Mick Fleetwood coffee. But that Eggos Waffles creamer is amazing. I highly recommend it. So
yeah, I can't do it. Diabetes. Diabetes. Yep. It's one of those things where if I put that in my coffee, it just ruined the whole day. So I said, well, I wanted to do this too. And from last night, kayfabe. Maybe it's not going to come out tonight. But I wanted to say, instead of how the hell is it going, Lance, I want to say, what's good, baby? Like the Briscoes do. What's good, baby?
Yeah, like the chicken farmer.
All right, real quick. I want to point out our sponsors right there, Spunk Lube, Chiropractic Health Center, and Bear, sponsors of all our live streams until they quit giving us money. And we also, what we're doing is the top stories. We do crazy stories with WTF, but once a year we sit down and we do the serious stories. We're kind of proud of these shows.
Important stories.
And this is 7th annual. I'm still saying that. All right, get started, Lance. Tell them what we're doing.
Yep, top stories of 2023 as far as like newsworthy stories, like big news stories for the year in wrestling. We don't, you know what? I just realized we really don't do much MMA on this one. We usually just pretty much stick
It's just wrestling. Yeah, MMA is going to be mentioned, but for something else. So
MMA, especially, for WTF, we get a lot of MMA. But as far as the news stories go, we focus mostly on the wrestling. So as always, we start with the deaths, the big deaths that happened in 2023. So to me, the biggest one was Terry Funk. That one affected so many people. Terry Funk, obviously a legend in the business. You also had Lanny Poffo, Jerry Jarrett, who you interviewed, if I recall correctly.
Sweet guy, man. Such a legend, and to be so humble. He was just so humble.
And superstar Billy Graham was another one who'd been very ill for a very long time. So finally lost him in 2023. And Iron Sheik. So those were the main ones. Obviously, there were 2 others that were huge, and we're going to talk about those. The reason I'm skipping them here is because we're going to talk about them in the body of the show. So the other 2 that you're thinking of and that you're thinking that we're blowing off, we're not blowing them off. They're going to come up later in the show. So this is like a regular Cool Kids Countdown. We each made our list. We actually agreed on almost all of it. There was only a couple that we didn't agree on. Pretty much the top 8 stories we agreed on. So 9 and 10 are pretty much our individual last picks that didn't make it.
But nothing that we disagree on.
Right. Yeah. These are all good stories that all made the news. A couple of your stories I combined because they were kind of on the same tangent in a sense. So, we kind of put them together. So at number 10 is my first story. It was Sting and Bryan Danielson's big announcements in 2023. On October 18th, you had Steve Borden, that's Sting, if you don't know any better.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Steve Borden announces that he's done. His last match is going to be at Revolution in March in Greensboro, where it all began for him. As you know, that was the Flair match, the Flair Clash of Champions match with Sting from March of 1988, if you can believe that.
That's crazy. Yeah, yeah.
The whole thing is pretty symbolic, very cool. Good on TK for getting that scheduled. Would Wembley have worked out for Sting? I mean, it would have been a cool moment for Sting to have retired at Wembley, but this works out okay too.
I think it's awesome that he's retiring there. You know, he started in Memphis, and so I think that's part of me being a Sting fan for so long is because I took photographs of him in some of his very first matches. So
you weren't feeding him pizza, right?
That was the Undertaker.
Undertaker feeding pizza. Okay, so Sting, wrapping up the Sting part. Sting is actually 64, which is amazing. He's been in AEW now for 3 years. I think he's been a marvel. You know, they've used him very well. They didn't ruin him. I mean, it's amazing he's done some of the physical stuff that he has done.
I agree 100%. Yep.
And then the other announcement, lesser impact, was Bryan Danielson going on record that he's winding down, kind of more like a Terry Funk winding down because it's going to be going on and on, I think. But he's saying that this will be his last year as far as like full-time wrestling. He's had a lot of injuries. The injuries became more frequent in 2023. He promised his kids, Birdie and Benny and BB and whatever their names are, that he'd be at more of the he'd be at more of the bake sales with them. So he's going to be quasi-retiring in 2024. For the record, around the injuries that he had in 2023, he had a fantastic year. Some really great stuff from Bryan Danielson.
Oh, I agree. Big Bryan Danielson fan too. He started in Memphis Championship Wrestling where he was a developmental. Started with Shawn Michaels first, but then came into the Memphis area. I was a big fan of his. And then as as they talk about him doing all these high schools and all that, it's true. And I'm a huge fan of both of these guys. Sting is a little older than us, but not much, which makes you go, I don't think I'd be jumping off all that shit he's doing. The bump he took, the last big bump he took just scared me. And Danielson I don't know if we will see anyone as good as him before we die. I really don't. I think he's one of those guys that'll take that 20 years from now. We might see someone that's close to him. Overall, I'm talking about his overall thing. Sting, everyone, even Meltzer said he wasn't a Hall of Fame guy, which I disagree. But Sting was never and I'm not saying this to be bad. He was a good worker, but not a great wrestler, put it that way. And Danielson's a great wrestler.
Yeah.
And so Sting was always an attraction. And I've always, even the Joker Sting. I love the Joker Sting.
I'm gonna put you on the spot. Is Danielson on your Mount Rushmore?
No, not probably not. If
maybe
it was
top
just
10?
for work, easily for top 10. My Mount Rushmore would be a great episode to do.
Yeah.
But it goes with, I guess, a lot of my childhood. So
yeah, if we do a Mount Rushmore, it would have to. I would be surprised to see if we had all any matching anything.
Yeah.
If either of our 4 picks would match. So I will say with Bryan, he seems like the kind of guy in terms of his family and so on that when he says he's going to walk away, he's pretty much going to walk away. Yeah. I think maybe a match a year, maybe he'll do a pay-per-view.
I think he said 4 in the last interview.
I could see him coming back here and there, but he's certainly not going to come back as a regular. I think he's definitely means well when he says he's going to hang out with his kids. So anyway, all right. At number 9, we have
who wants to hang out with their kids? Jeez.
Your first pick. Yeah, I know they're crazy. Your first pick at number 9, it is the Elite re-signing with AEW. So announced in March that the greatest tag team of all time, the Young Bucks, along with Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, have all re-signed, and they're staying put with where they started AEW, basically. They were some of the architects along with Cody and obviously Tony Khan.
I thought you were talking about the Midnight Express there.
No, I said the greatest tag team of all time. I'm talking about the Young Bucks, obviously. So they signed new long-term contracts. Obviously, for the Bucks, it's all about the schedule. It's all about the schedule for the Bucks and for Page because they're all such family-oriented people. Big part of no jumping and no not going to WWE because their schedules are much more accommodating for them. Obviously, the money is a huge part of it too. I'm sure they would have gotten paid handsomely in WWE as well. But the main thing is the schedule, I think, for those three guys. Omega is a different sort of animal, different breed. Would he have even fit in WWE? I think we've had that discussion before. We may never know. And if we do know, if he does eventually go, it's not going to be when he's in his prime. So they stay put. The Elite stay put at AEW at number 9 for you.
I'm pretty sure his prime's gone. I mean, with as many injuries he's had. I was a huge Omega fan way before. I need to go through my Facebook way before anyone else was talking. I was talking to Tony Myers, and we were talking about guys that were working Japan. And I said, and that was before he went to New Japan. And me and him was talking about him, and I said he did weird stuff with his head. That's the only thing that bothered me. But he was going to be really good. And Tony was like, "Man, he's good. But no one ever said anything. And all of a sudden, everybody loves Omega. I thought the reason I put this on the list is with these 4 guys, and you said it, would they fit in with the WWE? I don't know. And I think that is one of the main reasons they did what they did. Is not only the schedule, which I would love, WWE schedule is less than it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd love to have this schedule that they have. And some of those guys that getting guaranteed pay, and we'll talk about some wins people have, but some of those guys had 9 matches last year. 9 matches. So, I mean, and they're still getting paid. So Elite signing to me was the opportunity for them. The way they look at it is they're in control of what happens with them. And I know, my career as a manager is no big deal, but I was real picky about things like that. If I went in somewhere to work a show for that night, I booked my match, I booked the finish, the whole deal for my teams. And if anyone had a problem with it, we just packed up. We just leave. But that's kind of the way they have. They're not going to pack up and leave because they helped start the business like Cody did. And then I'm going to tell you, Hangman Page would be completely lost, not even a star whatsoever in WWE. So he better be happy he had good friends like that and stay. But them signing also puts it, I don't know, it puts it as if we know how many years they're going to be there. So does that mean we're going to have AEW no matter what during those years? That's kind of what I thought. I thought it was important to see them stay there when there's so many people that's going to go back and forth.
Now, what did you say about Omega does weird stuff with his head? Is it like D'Lo Brown with that head shake thing?
Yeah. That was it. It's really weird. It was like and then when you see something like that with me, I can't unsee it.
Right.
And and this is when I'm talking about, he was, I guess he was in DDT, and he hadn't been wrestling a lot. And I was like, man, he's really, but those head movements, it's driving me crazy. And Tony was the reason why I went to Tony, he works Japan, so he knows everybody over there. And, so I was trying to get Omega, hopefully in the future to be on our podcast, but that was way before he become a big deal. So
yeah. So all right, moving on to number 8. This is my last one before we start converging, I believe. So at number 8, I have Fox dropping SmackDown and the CW grabbing NXT. So in the ever-changing TV industry with streaming and cord cutting and networks and demos, oh my, with all this stuff. Fox announces in September that they've chosen not to renew SmackDown, and promptly USA, NBC Universal grabs it up. The contract runs out in October of this coming year, 2024. USA is paying $1.4 billion for SmackDown, which is just insane kind of money. Fox generally did well in the demo, the whole 18 to 49, but they were always in last place with SmackDown on Friday nights. And of course, the ad rates were never going to be as good for wrestling as they are for Shark Tank or Law and Order or other shows that could be airing during that spot. NBC also giving WWE some network specials, like, I don't know,
Law and
Saturday.
Order's on NBC, by the way, not Fox.
I'm just
Go
saying,
ahead.
TV shows in general are going to get a better ad rate than wrestling is.
Oh,
gonna get.
yes, very much so. I wish you wouldn't say wrestling. I'm going to censor you.
I'm saying wrestling because that's the way the media looks at it. We're not saying wrestling. We're looking at, that's why the ad rates are so low, is because that's how it's looked at by the media. So NBC also giving them some network specials like Saturday Night Main Event type of stuff. And will it stay on Friday? That's a good question. Is SmackDown going to stay on Friday night? The other big score for WWE is that in October, they announced that a 5-year deal has been struck with the CW to move NXT to a regular network, a regular over-the-air network from USA. CW is looking to expand their sports profile. They're doing football, basketball, golf, NASCAR, and now they're in bed with WWE also. So, and they're in 100% of the households in the country. So they're going to be everywhere. So I think that's a huge move, because those younger stars that NXT has gone from becoming like ROH basically, and where they were cherry picking all the great guys and all the great indie workers and everything. Now almost all of the people in NXT are homegrown WWE trainees and young people. So I think that could be an enormous coup for these guys to have that developmental show on a regular major network in 2024.
Too bad it's not a good show. So, yeah.
Well, the colors, it has
it's
the
colors. Oh, yeah, just
a
big. We knew this was going to happen, and I when I see them getting a big contract and a renewed contract or whatever, it reminds me of we was in Cool Kids. The group there, the Cool Kids Wrestling MMA group. It's a Facebook group. You got to ask to come in, and if you're an asshole, we kick you out. But I remember us talking about how the ratings were going down, what's going to happen, and then all of a sudden they get this huge contract, and then they have positioned themselves. Everyone just thinks it will just keep going up. It'll be interesting to see 5 years from now, 4 years from now, what goes on. I don't see CW as a big deal. I know you can get it everywhere, but I just don't see it as a big a deal as an NBC and ABC, Fox, CBS. But I may be wrong. I do know CW had a lot of great superhero type shows, and they have Riverdale. I almost said Riverside. And so there's all kinds of stuff that they've done, but reshaping themselves and putting wrestling in the center might be something for them to do. But I love part of it. I love it. But then I get so sick of people that have never, ever did any business whatsoever. You and me both have worked in retail or fast food or something like that our whole life. We understand business. I got a business degree. I'm not trying to, what was it? Blow your breath or whatever we were told we did that time. Toot my own horn.
Blow smoke.
Yeah, I'm not blowing. No, it wasn't that.
No, that's not
choking. You was choking. Clearing your throat. I'm not clearing my throat. I'm just saying I understand business. A lot of people get on the internet and they know everything about them ratings and they know everything. And I just hate hearing all that stuff. But yeah, it'll be, as always, wrestling keeps us. And I think it's really funny that I say this is 7th annual, and you sent. I can't remember what we were talking about the other day, but I think we picked like the perfect time to start a podcast.
Yeah.
How could it be less? This is one of the most exciting periods of time, especially for the last 7 to 10 years that wrestling's ever had. So, all right, I'll shut up. Number 7.
We always talk about, when people ask us, like people ask me, like, why do you follow that shit? How can you watch that shit? And I always respond with, okay, yeah, I know it's fake. That's always the big thing. But it's one of the most fascinating businesses in front of the camera, in the ring, behind the scenes, no matter what. It's one of the most fascinating businesses. And it's had both of us sucked in for decades, because it's just so interesting. Now, as much as ever, it's as interesting now as it's ever been to me. And I've never fallen off, and I've always found it to be fascinating, and I always will. So, all right, at number 7, this is what we were talking about at the beginning. So it is the deaths of Jay Briscoe and Bray Wyatt. These two just stood out, as far as the deaths. These two were tragic, primarily because of their ages and their family lives with both these guys. So almost exactly 1 year ago to the day, Jamin Pugh, Jay Briscoe, was killed at age 38 in a head-on collision, a car crash in Delaware. His two daughters in the car with him, and thankfully they survived. The other driver also killed. Her car or SUV, whatever it was, crashed or swerved into him, oncoming traffic, and they both died. So with Jay Briscoe, it's just the body of work in ROH and New Japan. Just incredible, just an incredible worker. Mark has been so strong in coming through all this. He never missed a beat. He signed with AEW, and now he's still been, pretty much in front of the camera the whole time. And then August 24th, we had Bray Wyatt's death. Wyndham Rotunda dying, also almost the same age, 36. Creative performer. At first, when I first saw the Bray Wyatt act, I thought he was going to be the next Undertaker. I thought he was this iconic, charismatic, this dark character, just so unique and so different. I thought he really would be the next generation's Undertaker. He'd been away from WWE for quite some time. At one point, he was let go altogether. He was brought back, generated a ton of buzz when he came back with those QR codes and that speculation and all the little clues that were dropped about him. Bray's death was a heart attack after his lengthy battle with COVID. Also a family man, so just incredibly sad to see both of these guys die, let alone at such an early age, and let alone how in both their cases. And of course, we wish our best to their families, and to all the fans that are listening to us now, and all the fans of theirs. These two, like I said, they just hit differently. It kind of reminded me of the Owen Hart death when that happened.
Well, yeah, and with like you said, Terry Funk was probably fan-wise was probably the strongest one with me. And when they're older, it's almost like it's okay. But
It's
with
different.
Bray, it was a total shock, and I was always a huge Bray fan. Even with some of the bad matches he had, I still loved him. I loved every moment of it. It was so weird and so different. And Briscoe was one of those guys that I never watched ROH on a regular basis, the TV over and over, but I always watched the pay-per-views.
Mm-hmm.
So if one of the Briscoes was wrestling, either whether they were in a team or in single matches, I always watched their match. I watched the Briscoe matches and always watched Jay Lethal. And that's why you'll hear me, I'm a Jay Lethal fan, but they always had a good match no matter what. They were so talented. And then after learning their story, they didn't only wrestle full time. They're just hard workers. They have a chicken farm, and it's one of those things where everybody laughs about it, but you'll get up and feed the chickens. They were getting up at 4 a.m. in the morning, doing all this stuff at chicken farm, and then wrestling that night. So it was all this dedication that I thought, and thinking that they were, just good guys, and that's one of the reasons I liked them a lot. I hated seeing that.
One of the memories that I'll always take is when we were at the StarCast, when John and I were at the StarCast in Nashville. That unfortunately you weren't able to be there, but running into them. Running into the Briscoes and actually being able to talk to them for a couple minutes and asking them to take a picture with us. The two of them calling us sir. You know what I mean? It's like these guys had been decades already, 20 years.
Well, it's because y'all are old. It's because y'all are really old.
Respect.
But no, it is. I had
the
same thing with
so incredible and so humble. It's just such a humble experience. And I'm never going to forget that. I cherish those pictures that we were able to get with them, and just again, for as good and as talented as they are and were, just that humble to call me sir.
I had the same thing happen to me when I was at the hotel with Samoa Joe and Bully Ray. They came in for TNA and they were, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, sir. I mean, I was just like, guys, I didn't say nothing, but such nice guys. Yeah. All right, number 6.
All right, number 6 is where we start agreeing on our picks here. So it is Adam Copeland leaving Edge behind. You had this story at number 10. I had it at number 8, so pretty similar. October 1st at AEW's Wrestle Dream PLE, Premium Live Entertainment. The Rated R superstar, after 25 years in WWE, jumps to AEW for one last run. Now, in that 25 years, of course, he had 9 years off because of the bad neck. But he did return to WWE in 2020. He decided he felt he had done everything he could do there. He did well. I thought on the WWE comeback, I thought he did well. He wanted to go work with Christian for one last big run with his BFF. Contract with WWE expired in August, so it facilitated the jump. So I would say so far they've used him well. They're not overusing him. They're keeping him special. He's being programmed, obviously, with Christian and with Nick Wayne. I think it's a good rub for Nick Wayne to get pulled up with Christian and with Adam Copeland. I keep wanting to say Edge. So
hey Lance, I'll let you go ahead. You
okay.
can call him Edge.
He's been Edge for 25 years. It's tough to break out of that. So for me, him being there was kind of a highlight in an otherwise kind of soft interest year for AEW. And I know you're going to disagree with this one and you're going to poo-poo this one, but I have to mention Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné on this one too, because she showed up at Wrestle Kingdom on January 4th, challenges Kyrie in Stardom. After that weird walkout that happened in WWE in the spring of 2022, did a couple of matches, had her injury in May, then showed up in the audience at Wembley. So I think it'll be interesting to see. There's not that many free agents left, and I think she's one of the big names that's left.
Yeah,
so it'll be interesting to see.
She does absolutely nothing for
no,
me.
I know.
And the thing about it is she will not move the needle because we had Edge come jumping AEW, and the ratings or whatever did not. And it's a lot of that stuff is really scary to watch. They're getting a certain amount of people, but they can't seem to get anyone else. And there's no, like you said, who else is going to jump where it will matter? And with a guy like Edge jumping, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to bring any fans with them. And, if Cody came back or, I said Roman Reigns or Cena might move it, but no, they're not going anywhere. Sasha Banks to me, I think I got a bad taste in my mouth because of the way she handled WWE, who did everything for her. I didn't like the walking out thing. And so that's just one. And there's probably 3 or 4 Sasha Banks matches that I like. Rest of it's just, and I'm not a women's wrestling fan overall. But it'll be interesting to see what they do with her. But the thing about it is, if they do something with her, will it even mean anything to anybody? That's the part and we could talk about that forever. But all right, that was 10987. Wait, I gotta make sure I do it. 10986.
You had it.
Oh yeah, I got that one right. We're gonna go halftime. We're gonna go to the commercial break right here. And since we're going to commercial break, if you were watching it, we're done. You can't watch anymore.
Bye-bye.
Got to go to the main feed to watch the rest of it, or you can subscribe to Patreon to watch the rest of it. So I need a breaking spot for right now. So